Hey everybody, today we're gonna make some agar. And to do this, we need a few ingredients. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of what the ingredients are while my water is heating up on the stove, and then we'll turn you and you guys can kind of watch the process. So first things first, you need agar powder. Agar is a plant-based gelatin substitute. I believe it's made from algae. Pretty interesting. And for most recipes, you're going to need nutrients. I use light malt extract. I use a little bit of yeast, a little bit of peptone, and I got a couple little secret ingredients. It doesn't take much of these, but they work wonders. Number one is honey. Just a teeny bit, like a little squirt. And then the other one is agave, light agave. You could probably use dark agave too, but I use the light. And again, same thing, a little squirt. Now I do 1,600 milliliters of water so that I can fill 4 jars with 400 milliliters. And the amount of honey and agave comes out to about 1.5 grams each in weight. Not very much, and you wouldn't think that this is going to provide any real actual nutrients when blended through 1,600 milliliters, but my agar is solid, and well, you'll see. The plates I pour are nice, everything grows well, so I'm telling you, secret ingredient. Now what I do beforehand is I mix my dry ingredients together. Okay, that's the agave or the agar and the light malt extract, the peptone, and the yeast. I mixed all of them together in this, and I go by weight as well. And then let's slide over this way. We got water on to boil. Now I don't know if you guys can see this. Let's scoot you a little closer. We're at a fair simmer right there, so I'm actually going to reduce my heat to maintain the simmer without it getting to a rolling boil. Rolling boil is not really necessary. So with that, I like to use this plastic whisk because this is a ceramic pot. You know, you got to do things the right way. We don't want metal shavings and Teflon floating around in our agar. That's not good for us or anybody. So right away, I'm just going to go ahead and start adding in some of these ingredients to get them blended and going. Use a spatula for the good gooey stuff. Get in there and, you know, rinse it out. All right. And again, we're going to be sterilizing this in a pressure cooker. So like, you know, clean, but I mean, you know, do what you got to do. So get the gooey stuff in there. Give it a little whisk, give it a little stir. And then these guys can fuck off. Now, what's important is that you incorporate your dry ingredients into your simmering water. I'm gonna put that a little higher. Slowly, so that they don't clump up, right? 1 second. Okay, so we're going to incorporate the dry ingredients into the liquid or to the water slowly so that they don't clump up. And we're just going to stir and blend as best we can. So what I'm going to do is just tap a little bit in there like so, and then blend it like that. You know, we're going to keep that motion going, and we just add a little and stir a little. Keep that rotation going. We can just kind of keep doing this just like that the whole time. So it's not clumping, it's blending. It's going to change the consistency of the water. It turns it from a clear to a cloudy, obviously. And we're just going to keep right on going with that incorporation. Don't want the clumping because it's going to show up in your plates. And little dense pockets of nutrients in your plates can throw off the growth patterns of the mycelium if they're too close to the surface, or, you know, it can also throw off the color and the clarity. All of these things are stuff you want to try and work to achieve with your agar. So, or at least stuff that I like to achieve with mine. So we're just going to keep doing this nice and slow until we get it all in there. Okay? Get the last little bits out of there. There we go. And this can fuck off. Now, we're going to turn the heat up a little bit, because if this boils, it's going to foam. And if it foams, it could spill over, and the smell of burning agar solution on your stovetop, oof, not a pleasant one. So, we're just going to bring this up until it starts moving around a little bit on its own, but still stirring occasionally, like so. And smell it cooking. It's kind of unpleasant, but you get used to it. And that's the light malt extract mostly is what you're smelling. You know, it has a very kind of off smell, like a bready smell. And then when it's mixed with the other ingredients, it just gives it its own little funk. But yeah, it's not that terrible. So this looks pretty well blended. Got a little bit of foam action going on there, but that's just from the agitation of the whisk. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dye it a little bit of blue. Last time it was yellow. You see it starting to bubble and roil. There we go. So we want to keep that under control. Turn that down just a little bit. And we're gonna add our non-toxic food coloring. Now, I like just a light color on my plates. I don't like to do too dark. If it's too dark, it makes it difficult to see contamination. I always try to caution people against using colors that are similar to contamination, so you want to stay away from greens if you can, unless you're doing like a lime or a neon, like a really, really vibrant green, then it's different. But when it's like a dark green, man, that can be a real challenge to spot the contamination when it happens early. So light colors, and again, this looks even more kind of cloudy and dark, but when it's poured, it's going to blend really well. And we're going to see some things happen after it comes out of the pressure cooker that's going to, you know, be a little bit different as well. So I think that's pretty good. We're going to reduce the heat even more. Continue to stir as you reduce the heat. That way it prevents the liquid from boiling up and boiling over. And you want to reduce your heat until the boiling action kind of stops. And when that happens, we're going to switch over to the counter, and I'm going to show you guys how I load this into my jars, how I cap the jars, and then we're going to put them in the pressure cooker to get them ready to be poured. So, thinking that's pretty good right there. Hang tight. Okay, so now we're over at the sink. Please don't pay attention to this sink full of dirty dishes I got going on over here. But basically, I'm just going to use this soup ladle to evenly distribute this agar into these 4 jars while making as little of a mess as possible. Still going to be pretty messy, but you don't want to get too much of it on the outside of your jars if you can help it. But, you know, it is what it is. So sometimes I use a funnel. I forgot to grab one this time, so you guys are just going to see me fuck it up like I just did right there. Oh, the pot's in the way. You didn't see that. Here, let me step aside so you guys can judge my mistakes as I go through this process. A funnel is definitely the way to go with these, but, you know, whatever. So, one at a time, we're just going to fill these guys up as best we can. We will probably take the time to wipe the outsides of the jars a little bit because, you know, I don't want all that agar stuff getting inside of my pressure cooker. It makes a huge mess in there because, you know, eventually it dries into that, you know, gooey, gelatinous, scientific stuff that we love so much. So get these guys full up, topped off, and there's that. Now, these are going to be hot, like really hot, so be careful. Give me a second, I'm going to lift them out of here. Okay, so what I've done is I've gotten this dish towel wet. I use this paper towel to pick the jar up, and then I'm just going to kind of wipe down the sides like so of each of these jars to clean them off. give it a little twist to clean the bottom, and then we're gonna put the lids on to get them ready for the pressure cooker. Now, the cool thing about this is a regular jar lid, right? This is how they come. So what we're gonna do is turn this upside down inside of the ring and put it on until it is finger tight. That's it. You turn it on until it just catches but doesn't tighten. So the flipped lid allows a small bit of air to pass through from where the lid and the ring is on the outside of the jar so that it doesn't pressurize and explode while it's inside of your pressure cooker, which, you know, would definitely not be good. So, got this guy here, and I'm going to repeat the process with all of these. We're going to make sure that the edges of the jar are clean from any built up agar, and we're going to get them all capped off. Then I'm going to put foil on them and stick them over there in the pressure cooker. All right, so we are finishing up getting the tops of the jars covered in foil. And why do we put foil on the top of the jar? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is when it's inside of the pressure cooker, that thing's got steam just billowing up all over the place in there, and that moisture can work its way in under where this is not completely 100% sealed, and the water can actually get inside of the agar. So the foil helps to prevent or at least reduce that occurrence. And also, when it comes out of the pressure cooker, everything beneath the foil is sterile. So when you take this to your lab space to start pouring your plates, you have a clean, like you spray the top of this with isopropyl alcohol when you get in front of your space, and then you peel this off. You don't have to respray what's underneath because it's already sterile and protected by the foil, right? So that's why we put the foil over the top. Moisture reduction and being sterile. So your sterile process is going to be instrumental to your success as a cultivator and a, you know, wannabe scientist or burgeoning scientist, as it were. So now I'm going to take these over there. We're going to get them in the pressure cooker, and I'm going to set these in for 2 hours. You probably don't need to do that. If your pressure cooker gets to 15 psi, I believe the common accepted sterilization time is 45 minutes for agar. I do it for 2 hours for 2 reasons. Number one, peace of mind. 2 hours is more than enough. Number two, my pressure cooker over there, my little Instant Pot, only gets to 12 psi. So you have to do it for longer in order for it to be similarly affected to a higher psi. So that's why I do that. I'm going to get these over there and I'm going to get it turned on. And that's about all I have for you guys for the moment. I really hope that you enjoy the video. I guess like and subscribe. There will be more to come. And come check me out on TikTok. I'd probably do a shorter version of this over there. I'm not sure. But TikTok's where I do most stuff. YouTube's kind of new to me, but I'm still, you know, we're getting there. We're seeing where this is going to take us. But in the meantime, thanks for hanging out.